the results of the Manhattan Project, while having made a weapon against innocent people. It was a triumph for the coming nuclear age and progress of mankind. The triumphs of the Manhattan Project included the finding of new cures for old diseases, new advances in technology, and cleaner renewable energy, ultimately creating the beginning of a new age, the nuclear age. The Manhattan Project was a serious government project that occurred over 70 years ago. It was a project that promoted the science and findings of nuclear power, focused on creating a weapon of mass destruction in order to end World War II and silence Japan's endless conflict. Besides key scientists and few other government officials, no one who worked on the Manhattan Project knew what they were working towards. In early 1939, there is an announcement that German scientists like Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann had discovered fission. German physicist Leo Szilard and many others became greatly worried by this, fearing that Germany may produce an atomic bomb. This prompted Szilard and two others to write to Albert Einstein. They requested that he write to Belgium and tell them to not sell uranium to Germany. Soon Szilard and Einstein got together to write a letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Beginning in mid to late 1939, after President Roosevelt had received letters from scientists Albert Einstein, Leo Szilard, and Alex Sachs, which told of the benefits and dangers of nuclear fission that had recently been discovered. The Manhattan Project soon became active, receiving its code name 2 years later in 1941. At first, research regarding the project was conducted in a few select universities: the University of Chicago, Columbia University, and the University of California, Berkeley. In December of 1942, 3 years after the project began, a breakthrough was finally achieved when scientist Enrico Fermi led a group to conduct the first controlled nuclear chain reaction at the University of Chicago. This was a milestone that allowed funds to be distributed freely, which launched the project into advancement at a lightning-fast pace. Soon, nuclear facilities were built at Oak Ridge, Tennessee, Hanford, Washington, and possibly the most infamous of the three, Los Alamos, New Mexico, where the main assembly plant was built. At the Oak Ridge facility, the X-10 graphite reactor was the first pilot reactor to purify the uranium that was used for the bomb Little Boy. Uranium-235 is fissile, meaning it would be able to undergo fission, unlike uranium-238, which was stable and not a likely candidate for a nuclear bomb, since fission was needed. It took months of tedious work and waiting just for the valuable U-235 to be extracted from the much more abundant but useless U-238. At the facility in Hanford, the B reactor was built and used for enriching plutonium to be put in the larger and fittingly named explosive Fat Man. While the X-10 graphite reactor was air-cooled, the B reactor was water-cooled, a groundbreaking discovery which made it much easier to keep the temperature from fluctuating. While the fuel for these two bombs were being produced in experimental environments, thousands of people took residence within secret cities. These secret cities were highly guarded, just like the project itself, and allowed those who were working along with the scientists to live in a closer vicinity to where they worked, and gave a more secure space for the project to take place without prying eyes. Both of the designs were conceptualized in Los Alamos, New Mexico, at different sectors, one for a gun-type bomb and the other for an implosion type. Soon, the components of both bombs are finished and taken to Tinian Island. It should be pointed out that these two harbingers of death were not dropped at the same time, but were just mere days apart from each other. On August 6th, Little Boy was flown across the ocean by the B-29 Enola Gay and dropped above its target, Hiroshima, Japan. Then 3 days later, on August 9th, Fat Man was dropped above Nagasaki from the B-29 Boxcar. Chaos ensued. Survivors said it was like hell. One Russian woman by the name of Kalaria Pelchikov even described what it was like to aid those unlucky enough to be caught in the fires and radiation, in a hopeless battle to comfort the suffering before they passed.
The hospital, a military hospital. It's supposed to be just a school, but it was appointed as a military hospital in case of heavy air raid. Well, we didn't know that we'd arrived there, but we saw by the mob that it was a hospital. So we went in. Well, my head was aching like anything because a beam had fallen on me, and a big scar and blood flowing down my face, and Mother's shoulder was wounded too. My father and my little brother weren't wounded at all. But we were terribly tired, just out of all out fatigue. So we decided to take a rest. But I couldn't rest. There was those people whining away, groaning, and asking for help. And I thought it was my duty to help them. Well, I didn't exactly have anything against them or for them, so I thought, well, I just might as well help them because they were just people.
Even the passengers within the two B-29 planes described the sight of the mushroom clouds as otherworldly and blinding. Those who witnessed the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki will never forget it, and it is a widely argued topic as to whether or not the United States had taken it too far and acted upon soul hatred and barbarism against Japan. However, one thing that can be agreed upon is that though many lives were lost due to the power of the atomic bomb, many more can be saved by the research from discoveries of what radiation can do. In the modern world today, one may not realize it, but radiation is in practically everything you use. Take X-rays, radiotherapy, and nuclear power plants for an example. They use radiation and nuclear power to help people in more ways than one. Not to mention, nuclear power plants are much safer for the environment than that of burning coal or using gas. There, of course, are ways not so blatant as well, like that a microwave uses radiation to heat up your food, or that the United States alone has 10 aircraft carriers that are nuclear powered. Even the French, who had a nuclear program during World War II, use nuclear power today. While the atrocities of the Manhattan Project were horrible, and truly a tragedy, it must come to mind that we were given the ability to heal those with cancer using radiation, and that it has not been easier to find if there is something wrong inside one's body because of X-rays. In our modern world, where threats have become increasingly dangerous, it is important to keep hope that human error may not lead to the loss of more lives in such a horrific way. Even the two cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki have been rebuilt from their ashes, which only gives more truth to what Winston Churchill had declared in his final parliamentary speech. By a process of sublime irony, we have reached a stage in the story where safety will be the sturdy child of terror, and survival the twin brother of annihilation.